Okay, so these days it's very popular for people to want to lose weight, and there are many ways to lose weight. One of the most popular ways is the low carb diet, going on a diet. Low carb diet means you're going to eat less carbohydrates and you're going to lose weight. But the question is, does eating less carbohydrates make you lose weight? Now keep this in mind as we talk about carbohydrates. Now before we know the answer to whether the low carb diet can make you lose weight or not, it is important to understand carbohydrates. And I'm going to start with this picture right here. Last week we said all living things are made up of cells. But what are cells made up of? They're made up of molecules, different types of molecules, and the four most important molecules are called biomolecules. We have carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, and nucleic acids. So we're going to talk about carbohydrates today, and in the following week we will talk about the other biomolecules. So here is some food here. Let's say a lunch. We have Coke, salad, cabbage, tomato, carrot, green peas, green beans, and tuna fish. Which of these food do you think has carbohydrates in it? Can you guess which food has carbohydrates and which ones do not have carbohydrates in it? Okay, now here we have them. So the Coke, salad, cabbage, tomato, carrot, green peas, and green beans all have carbohydrates, but the tuna is mostly proteins, okay? Mostly proteins. Now, let's look at how carbohydrates are made. And they are made by plants. We all know the story. They take carbon dioxide and water together with energy from the sun to make glucose and oxygen. Now this glucose is stored inside the plant as fruit or inside the roots. So we've looked at the food which has carbohydrates. We've looked at how plants make carbohydrates. But what are carbohydrates really? In biology, we say they are biomolecules which have three elements: carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen atoms. And the hydrogen and oxygen atoms are in 2:1 ratio. What does this mean? It means the number of hydrogen is double the number of oxygen atoms. So if you have 6 hydrogens, if you have 6 oxygens, you have 12 hydrogens. It's double. And here are examples. Now, if you can zoom into this potato, you're going to see a long chain of a carbohydrate we call starch. And if you zoom into the starch, you will see single units of glucose. Many glucose join together to form the starch. Now, the glucose is just one subunit, it's a single unit. We call that a monomer. And the starch is a polymer, a large molecule. So monomers join together to form the polymer starch. Let's look at the functions of carbohydrates, okay, because they are very important in our bodies. This is the most popular one, that is, they give energy. Okay, when you eat your food, your body will digest the food and your cells will absorb the the carbohydrates, and in your mitochondria you're going to change that to ATP, or energy. Number 2 is that carbohydrates give support to cells. So example here is the plant cell. In the cell wall, you have a carbohydrate called cellulose. It makes the cell wall very strong, okay? It supports the cell. Another example of carbohydrate which gives support is chitin, found in the exoskeleton of crabs and some insects. We also have peptidoglycan in the bacteria cell wall. Now, let's look at this situation. Okay, so this guy is very tired. Okay, and he needs a quick energy. Here are 3 carbohydrates: rice, fruit juice, and donuts. He's tired and needs a quick energy. Okay, instant energy. So which carbohydrate will you give to him? Rice, fruit juice, or donut? Take a minute and think. They are all carbohydrates, they all give energy, but which one should we give it? So if you guess the fruit juice, you are right. And why are you right? Because the fruit juice is easy to absorb, but also it is made up of small units of carbohydrate, glucose and fructose. Now this example leads us to the 4 types of carbohydrates, and we're going to look at that very soon. So number 1 is monosaccharides. Mono means one, saccharide means sugar. Monosaccharide means what? They have one sugar molecule. Here is example: glucose, fructose, galactose. I want you to look at the structure of these 3. They are almost the same. They all have 6 carbons. Their formula is C6H12 and O6. The difference is what? The OH in glucose is to the right, OH in galactose is to the left. Okay, we call them isomers. They have the same molecular formula but different structures. Isomers. Number 2 is disaccharides, and di means 2, saccharide means sugar. Disaccharides, they have 2 sugar molecules. Example, we have maltose, sucrose, and lactose. Now, maltose is made up of 2 glucose molecules joined together. Fructose, 1 glucose. Sucrose is made up of 1 glucose and 1 fructose. And lastly, lactose is made up of 1 glucose and 1 galactose molecule joined together. So how are they joined together? Or what is the reaction? So here is a glucose molecule and another glucose molecule. You can see here the OH molecule from this glucose will join together with the H from the second glucose, and this will create H2O. We have 2 hydrogens, 1 oxygen, H2O, and we form our bond and make our disaccharide. Okay. This reaction is called a dehydration reaction or condensation. Okay. To dehydrate means to remove water from something. Dehydrate. Number 3 is oligosaccharides. So oligo means a few, saccharide means sugar. So what is oligosaccharide? They are a few sugar molecules. Okay, about 3 to 10 molecules. And here is our example: raffinose. It's made up of galactose joined together with glucose joined together with fructose. And oligosaccharides are super important for the cell membrane. So around the cell membrane you see a lot of them, and they help the cell to communicate with other cells or talk together with other cells. Lastly, we have polysaccharides. And poly means many. Again, saccharide is sugar, so polysaccharide is many, has many sugar molecules. And they're very important for storing energy. Here are examples. Starch. In potatoes and many plants, they store the energy as starch, and this is starch. In animals, we store our carbohydrates as glycogen inside the liver. Look at the structure of glycogen, okay? It's branched, so it's easy to get the energy when we need it. It's easy to break it down. Cellulose, found in the plant cell wall, is very important to make the plant cell wall very strong. Can you see the structure? Very, very layered, okay, not branched. This makes it very strong. And we also have chitin. So how do you know that your food has carbohydrates? Okay, simple, just look at the food label. You'll find that information. But in science, we like to test. So if you want to know if something has starch, you just drop iodine on the food. This is the color of iodine. It's like gold or golden color. It has a golden color. If you drop on the food and it has starch, it turns black. This shows that the food has starch. Okay, if iodine turns from golden to black, it has starch. If the color doesn't change, it doesn't have starch. So here are two friends talking. One of them just finished lunch, had 2 bowls of bean soup and lots of vegetables, and he has a lot of gas in the stomach. So why is that? After eating a lot of bean soup and salad, if you have ever tried this, you too will have this experience. You have a lot of gas. Now this is because inside the beans and the vegetables, there are some polysaccharides, cellulose, dextrin, pectin, and we call these as fiber. Now, fiber, when you eat too much of fiber, this will cause a lot of gas in you. Okay, now, but why? When herbivores like goat and sheep eat fiber, they have no problem. But why do people have problems when they eat fiber? So here is it. Inside our bodies, we don't have the enzymes to digest, okay, to digest the cellulose and the fiber. So when you eat too much of it, it creates a lot of gas in you because we cannot digest it very well. And you have a bloated stomach. Okay. So let's conclude. So in conclusion, can you identify and explain what carbohydrates are and also explain their functions? Can you list and give examples of the different types of carbohydrates and compare their structures? If you can do this, good job. And if you cannot, watch it again and hopefully you can. Thank you for watching and I hope this is helpful.